Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Oxygen for the Soul. This week's Parashah is Perashat Noah. And Noach, we've been reading it for so many years now, the story of Noah and his ark, the story of a civilization that has come to an end, and him witnessing the rebirth of a new one, a world that has gone so corrupt and destroyed, and Noah tasked with the responsibility of starting everything anew. Um, Parshat this week has a lot of deep messages for us today, 2023, during these trying times. And I want to share some ideas of chizuk. How do we weather the storm? I think no one knew that better than Noah. The Gemara tells us that asks the question, why is it that the Jewish people are compared to an olive? Right? So we know that the olive trees, I'm not sure if you know this actually, but olive trees, they don't lose their leaves, not in the winter and not in the summer. And the same way that the olive tree is eternal, Am Yisrael is eternal. We have the power of living in this world and the next world. All agriculture was completely annihilated during the Mabul. That only the strong, sturdy, powerful olive tree, which is not big, it's not like the redwoods, it's a small tree, a modest tree, but it's still very powerful. They get bigger and bigger, right? Those trees survived the storm, according to some opinions in the Midrash. The olive tree, all the trees were destroyed except for the olive trees. How do we know this? Because when God created the olive tree, He did this on purpose to give chizuk, hope, to the world. When Noah and his family came into the ark, to the teva, when the dove returned with the olive branch in his beak, Noah and his family, they were dancing for joy, because it meant that the water was receding. I mean, it meant that all that destruction had come to an end. It meant that the world around us was a very different kind of place. Noah and his family would have a very clear way to know that they're soon going to leave the teva. They're soon going to leave the ark. They're soon going to leave the reality that they were in. Every single moment of life, we find ourselves in circumstances. There's a storm brewing. And we have a teva, which I really believe is also symbolic of our mind. It's the ark. It's how we're able to go ahead and structure our own thoughts right now. It's so easy to lose hope. It's so easy to allow yourself to fall into the darkness. It's so easy for you to get frustrated. It's so easy for you to allow the negativity of the world around you to break you. But be mindful that the storm around you will come to an end. And the same way that the olive tree stands both in the winter and the summer, Am Yisrael is considered like an olive. We too have the power of overcoming the darkness. Just as the dove brought light into the world, okay, so too, Am Yisrael brought light into the world. How do we bring light into the world? We would bring light, the olive oil light, in the Beit HaMikdash. Okay, the dove encouraged the world. Am Yisrael will encourage the world as well. The pasuk says, "V'hinei ala zayit teref b'piha." The dove had an olive branch in its beak. Rashi says that the word taraf has two translations. It means it either snatched, right, or it was food, right? If it means it was food, then the dove was praying to God and said, let my food be bitter like olives, but let it be from God's hand. Rather than to receive food that is sweet like honey, but give it to me from human hands. I would much rather have something bitter from God than something sweet from a man. That's what the dove is saying. For close to a year, Noah is supporting the dove, right? With the dove holding the olive branch in its beak. The dove was pleading to God that she prefers bitter parnasa, bitter success, bitter than sweet parnasa, sweet news from the people around me. I don't want. I'd rather have bitter news from God, right? The word teref means chataf, snatched. Pasuk is saying that the dove grabbed the branch and held it in its beak. What does that mean? It means that when you go ahead and you work in tandem to teach us how a person should go about, how we go about earning a parnasah, how do we go out and create bitachon. The Ben Ish Chai says the word bitachon has the words in it tov and betach, right? Has the words in it good and certain, right? These are and belief. You have the power of using your belief. Or bitachon is tov and chen. That's what Ben Ish Chai says. Because when you have bitachon, you receive a tremendous amount of good grace. When you have faith, when you allow yourself to create a space in your head for that faith, you're able to go ahead and overcome anything. In the same way that Noah, whether he was righteous or not, whether he was a believer or not, because it's unclear as to what, how, and where Noah stood in relation to this particular moment in time. He was someone that was a believer, but also struggling to believe, struggling to deal with the world that he was living in. But that's just a choice he had to make. Now, when the Torah calls the rain, right? The rain. What does it call it? There's two words for the rain in the pasuk. It calls it either geshem, right? First the Torah calls it geshem, and then afterwards it calls it mabul, a flood. Pasuk says, "Veyi hageshem ala aretz arba'im yom." The rain fell, and it fell for 40 days. Veyi mabul arba'im ala aretz. But then there was a flood for 40 days. Rashi says that at first it began to rain, and then if they were to do teshuvah, if they were to repent and change, it would be a rain of blessing, and did not have to escalate into a time of flood. But because they did not do their teshuvah, it became a flood. Now we see that generation had an opportunity to change the destiny of the world. If people of that generation would have done teshuvah, the flood would not have happened. They would have survived. The whole path of history would have been completely changed forever. But because they did not, this is the destiny of the world, right? We're in our reality right now. But my friends, you and I have the power of changing the course of history right now. In a blink of an eye, we can change everything. We're so worried, we're so concerned, we're so broken, we're so unhappy, right? It's painful, right? But Lama'aseh, in an instant, the whole thing can change. In an instant, the whole thing can change. The Gemara in Pesachim tells us there are 7 things that are concealed from man. Okay, and one of them is Yom HaNechama, a day where everything will become good. Rashi says Yom HaNechama is a day that a person will be free from his worries. It can happen in a moment. All the things that we're worrying about can be gone tomorrow. This is the Yetzer Hara, by the way, working overtime. A negative and evil inclination working overtime to break you from tapping into this real power of growth right now. This should give you chizuk. This should give you strength. Because ultimately, this moment in time is a profound opportunity for our development, right? The Chazon Ish says that people who aren't very wise and clever, you're not that smart. You have a hard time with things. You can become clever and smart in an instant, right? Mental faculties can change. Improvement can change. He said it this way. He said that when he was once outside on the street, he was walking, he wasn't able to understand some ideas in Torah, but when he crossed the street, for some reason, his heart opened up and boom, the whole thing became super clear to him, right? He was able to understand this. What happened? He knows that every single Friday night when his mother and grandmother would light their candles on Shabbat, they prayed for him that he should understand the Torah, that he should have wisdom and understanding, that he should have the ability to teach and give and provide. At that moment, their tefillot, he said, were answered, and everything turned around. That could happen in an instant. Your tefillot are not answered. They're always going to be answered. The question is when. We have a daily mitzvah to remember that Miriam was punished. You know that? Miriam was punished for what? For speaking Lashon Hara about her brother Moshe. We say, the pasuk says, Zachor et asher asa Hashem Elokecha leMiriam b'derech v'tzedcha b'Mitzrayim. Remember what Miriam, what God did to Miriam when they left Egypt. Okay, so what is the actual mitzvah to remember? Not that she got punished, but that she was healed. Miriam had tzarat. Moshe prayed for her, and she was healed immediately. No matter what one is going through. No matter what the circumstances are, you and I all need to believe that the cure could come in a moment. In a moment. There is a story that is told of a student, who was lost, and he wasn't feeling well, and he gave up, and he didn't want to go to class, and he thought he had some kind of sickness. It just he creates this ridiculous idea in his mind, right? He created a false perception in his reality, in his world, inside his mind. But in a moment's time, my friends, you and I can change everything. The story of Noach is a story of people and their responsibility and impact into the world. We know that the world was raging out of control. It was filled with Hamas. It was filled with all kinds of negative energy and negative thoughts, to the point where there's a tipping point. The world can change. It can evolve. It can become bigger, better, greater. But it didn't. It got worse. I don't know how we pull ourselves out of the world that we're in right now. But I know the one thing that each one of us can do is we can choose not to allow ourselves to panic. We can choose to become bigger than the scenario that we're in. There's a story that Rabbi Farhi reminded me of today. You may have heard it from him. He said that there was a Holocaust survivor who was in Auschwitz. He wasn't a survivor. He was a Holocaust. He was a Jew in the Holocaust, and he was singing Ani Mamin B'Moed Shlema, and they said to him, "What are you singing? Like, why are you singing this right now?" He was singing how it was, he was singing how Ashrecha. He was singing all these songs about how proud he was to be a Jew. And as they're pushing him in to this gas chamber, they're asking him, like, "What are you singing about? Like, He's like, "You know why I'm singing?" He's like, "I'd much rather be a Jew on this side in the gas chamber than be a Nazi on the other side. I'd much rather be in a place where I know that I am morally right, doing everything that I did nothing wrong. I'm doing everything that I should be doing. I'd rather be on this side." And that gives me strength. The strength that I have moral clarity is the strength that I need to overcome all of the challenge around us. For Noach, he wasn't clear about his moral responsibility. That's why, by the way, it's called Mei Noach. The Mabul itself is called the waters of Noach. It wasn't clear to him what his responsibility was. It was told to him that there's a Mabul coming, and he wasn't even sure what his role was. We should not have moral ambiguity. We should have the clarity that we need so that we can go ahead and move forward. There's certain things that as Jews we believe. Number one is we believe there's Borei Olam. We believe Yeshuat Hashem Keheret Ayin, that the salvation of God could happen in a blink of an eye. I don't care about this person's promises and that person's speech and this person. It's nothing. It means nothing to me. The one thing that is super clear, that every single group of people throughout history, they were stronger than Hamas. They looked way worse in the situation that we were in right now. And somehow Am Yisrael overcame it. That's fact. That you can't argue about. Every single nation in the world that stood up to try to destroy us is gone. The same is true with these terrorist groups. They're going to be obliterated. I don't have to worry about that. But the one thing you and I need to worry about right now is, am I using this opportunity for growth? Am I using this opportunity to give tzedakah, to give chesed, to learn Torah, to say Tehillim? Because this time is not going to be forever. This time is right now. It's still unclear. Is it really true? Do I really know? The Jewish people their story. Our story is a story of faith. Our story is a story of hope. Our story is one of perseverance. The story of the Jewish people, of your families, of our ancestors, wherever they come from, it's one story. The story is that our dedication to our faith and our belief has given us the ability to overcome anything and everything. There's a promise that Hashem gave to the Jewish people. No matter what happens, we're not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere. We're always going to be here. So therefore, the one thing that you have control over, which is how you're going to respond to the people around you. Are you going to allow yourself to get worried? Are you going to allow yourself to get depressed? That's on you. That's not God. That's on you. Remember, Viktor Frankl said that the Nazis took everything away from the Jewish people except for their ability to respond to the situation that they were in. The one thing that no one can take away from us is how we're going to respond. Noach's response was clear. Me Noach. Don't make this situation that we're in right now the challenges of your generation. Turn it into something more. Make it into something much bigger. That's your choice. You choose the world that you want to live in. You choose how you are going to respond. You choose how you're able to take the power of this time right now and elevate yourself in something more. This is the time for action. This is the time not for inaction, for action. Stop worrying about what could happen. Just do something. Do something. You don't know what to do? I don't know. Right now, make a neder. Give tzedakah. You want to go ahead and be someone who's taking lashon hara. 5 minutes a day. Do something small every single day for the merit of those people that are out there fighting for justice and truth, for our values, for morality. And I'm telling you right now, no matter what the situation is, you will feel amazing because you know that you're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. That, my friends, this is why they attacked us on Simchat Torah, I believe. The attacks on October 7th was on Simchat Torah, because Simcha means doing what I'm meant to be doing. Happiness is when I'm going ahead and I'm acting in a way that I'm meant to be acting. That's real happiness. Not all of the distractions of the world around us. Those are nice pleasures we have. But simcha, happiness, is knowing that in any situation that I find myself in, as long as I'm doing what I should be doing, you will be blessed with simcha. My bracha to each of us is that in these coming days, the challenges that we find around us, we use them as unique opportunities to catapult ourselves into places of higher spiritual growth and development. This should be super clear to you. It's obvious that none of this makes sense. This is crazy. What a crazy time. You know, moral equivalency, who's right, who's wrong, whose story we're telling, it's all from Hashem. It's all going to unravel itself in the same way that in Persia, when the story of Haman and of Haman, Mordechai and Esther, the whole thing was v'nahapachu. The same thing's going to happen here. The whole thing's going to twist right away. There's some twist that's going to happen. You'll see. I don't know what, I don't know how, but you'll see. And you'll call me back and say, Rabbi, you were right. I always stress for no reason. But the one thing that's clear that right now is a time for growth. Use it, grow. We should only share in smachot. May all those people who are on the front lines fighting for peace, for safety, for those people who are able to go ahead and bring this war to an end, should be blessed with the ability of overcoming their enemies and be matzliach in their missions. We should only go michayel chayel. We should move from strength to strength and share in a bigger, better, greater world that is free from the insanity of the world that we're in right now. Shabbat shalom, everybody. Thank you so much for listening.
Shabbat shalom.